a little further than I wanted to. That oil kind of goes everywhere. You have to be real careful with it, because that glue won't stick on that oil, which is the whole idea. But you got to make sure you get it where you want it. Okay, and so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put a little bit of my 30-minute epoxy on this little tab. And it's got little holes. It doesn't take much epoxy. It really doesn't. Very small amount. Okay, I'm going to put a little bit on the other side. I'm actually going to squeegee off some of my excess. It doesn't take much at all. Okay? Now I'm going to put this piece into the back of my fuselage, and it goes down very low. Remember, it was very low to make everything come out right. I'm going to push that in. Okay? That looks pretty good. Now, I dropped my drop of glue right there in that hole earlier, and it's right where I want it to be. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take, let's see, a little bit of, I usually take a piece of wood or something.
Keeping his
Just
place
use a paper towel.
Randy Hauser and Goodbye Kip.
There's a little bit on this edge here, and I don't want it there because I don't want it to hit. So I'm going to go ahead and very carefully wipe that little bit off. It's right on the edge of this little hinge.
State Farm, this is Greg.
Just calling to say thanks.
Okay, so I wipe that little bit off,
I've always wanted my own set of these.
and I go ahead and I slide this up on there. Granted, remember I've got a little bit on in the hole. I'm going to go ahead and put a very tiny amount
She may be right.
on the
Save
piece of
hundreds
metal
when you combine
itself.
auto and home insurance with State Farm. Call 1-800
And I mean a
State Farm
very
and get
small
to a better
amount.
state. Average household savings based on 2012 National Survey of New Policyholders who reported savings by switching to State Farm.
Okay? Now I'm going to go ahead and slide it up here.
Tried over the last 5 years to really open up our lives to all of you.
And I have to line up my C-hay hinges as I do it.
Something unexpected happened. Sharing something like a diagnosis of cancer was nothing we were prepared to do. We hope, like everything else we've shared, it raises awareness, it educates, and maybe it helps someone along the line.
A new season of The Little Couple.
Very carefully push it up.
Only on TLC.
You thought Boost Mobile had low prices before.
Remember, I
but now
tested
they're dropping
that
lower than ever
several
for anyone
times
switching to a Boost 4G
before I did
LTE
that.
device by
Now they're
March
saying that
31st.
that gap needs to be just big enough for a piece of paper.
No.
It's a little bigger than that. So I'm going to go ahead and push it down.
How about
And I'm going to push it in.
No, try $35 a month for 6 months.
There it is. Pretty close.
That's low.
You're right, it's low. That's how Boost Mobile does it. They go $35 a month for 6 months. Low.
Okay, there it is.
Unlimited talk, text, and data.
Baby.
There's my tail wheel.
$35
All right, now
I'm down with that.
I'm going to set my epoxy to the side here. Go ahead and wipe my stick off with a paper towel so I can use it again.
Boost
I
Mobile.
use some of these sticks 10, 20 times. My little mixing sticks, they work great. As soon as I get through with them, I wipe them off real good. It's ready to go again. Okay? Now, let me see. They usually tell you to whip about 6 drops.
I'd like to personally invite you to shop our deli. We have so many choices for you to pick from. Our grill makes delicious meals, or order a hamburger or a Philly cheesesteak sandwich. Have you heard about our fried chicken? How about one of the nicest salad bars in town? Stop in today, whether it's a meal for lunch or a full dinner for the family. We
Okay,
strive to bring
they're
you
saying
quality
6
food
drops
daily
per
at Lowe's
hinge.
Family Price Chopper.
Uh,
Family Price Chopper on the Strip in Branson. 129
And of course,
Your 1029 The Z forecast brought to you by the Drive at 5 on the Ozarks Best Country.
I've got everything right. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull my T-pins out. My T-pins were used to hold everything in place. They were used to hold my hinges right where I wanted them. They did that. I've got everything in a perfect position. Now I'm going to go ahead and turn it on its side.
Tomorrow morning, that's right, winter storm warning.
And I'm going to wick 6
6
drops into each hinge.
See light snow and sleet, freezing rain, all going to happen overnight tonight. Could see snow.
Sounds like a lot, but these really wick it up.
Up around
I'm going to make sure and not move it around in the process.
And 1/10 of an inch of ice. Now, those are going to be down around 7 degrees overnight tonight. Wind gusts 15 to 20 with...
Make sure you can see what I'm doing here.
Up to 30 after midnight. And of course, that wind's ranging 11 to 16 degrees.
I'm going to wick 6
0.
drops
Make
into
sure you
each
bring
CA
your
hinge.
stuff in. Make sure they all have a warm place to get tonight, okay? And then on Monday,
2.
mostly sunny, colder, a slight chance of a shower, a light snow shower in the morning. Highs are going to be in the mid-20s, and then winds are still
4.
going to be blowing 15 miles per hour, gusty wind up
5.
to about 25.
6,
Wind
okay?
chill readings are going to be
1,
down around 4 to
2,
9 degrees
3.
below 0. Let's take a quick look at cancellations real fast before we take a look at the radar to see what we've
4.
got there. Cancellations right
5.
now here. The schools has called us and said they will
6.
not be having classes tomorrow. Once again, these
1,
are classes that
2.
will not be having school tomorrow. That's going to be Harrison School
3.
District and Hill Full Gospel Christian Academy
4.
in Arkansas. In Missouri,
5.
Aurora Christian Academy,
6,
Bradleyville,
okay?
Hollister.
Now go ahead and make sure that your control surface moves right.
It's called us so far and said, nope, we're not having
in the
classes
right
tomorrow.
position.
Harrison School District and Hill Full Gospel Christian Academy in Arkansas.
It's pretty
And
easy to
Missouri,
get out of
Aurora Christian
position.
Academy, Bradleyville, Hollister, Kirbyville.
Make sure that your gap's
Ozark,
still
and
right.
Republic. Of course, we will take a full look at that cancellations and postponements.
Mine
coming up in
appears to
just a
be.
bit. So
Make
we're
sure
going to
that
get
it's
school
still
cancellations
pushed
out
up.
there real fast for you. Taking a look
You
at
can
the
push on it a
Z
little.
color weather radar right now.
Make
we are
sure that
looking
it does
at,
hinge.
Heavy precipitation moving in through Newton County, getting ready to move
And it's going
into
to
the
take
southern part
about
of
5
Boone
minutes
County,
for that to
Carroll
go
County
ahead
again.
and cure
Also
out
Berry
and be in
Stone
pretty
counties
good
in southwest
shape.
Missouri beginning to see some pretty heavy precipitation moving back in there.
Everything looks real good. I'm going to go ahead and try to push it up. I always try
going to
to
stick around for a little
push
bit.
it up a little. Don't
with
put
some
too
more
much pressure
sleet
on it.
and snow precipitation
There it
throughout
is.
the area.
Okay, I'm going to set that aside. I will check it here in a minute to make sure it does hinge right.
Where you can stream the Ozarks Best Country anywhere in the
Want
world.
to make sure it does
Tell your
hinge
family, tell
correctly.
your friends. Your favorite station is now streaming online live. Go to 1029thez.com.
Go ahead and put up my T-pins. That's what T-pins are used for.
1029 The Z.
They hold your CA hinges in place. Okay, there we go. There's the rudder and the tail wheel wire. So since we're going by the instructions, I'm going to see what they say and I'll be right back. Okay, I let that set up for a minute, make sure it works. I just glued it a minute ago, I just epoxied it. Now my epoxy's not dry yet. I haven't been 30 minutes, but my CA is, and it seems to be fine. My gap's right, everything looks great. So I'm going to go ahead and work on putting to the book the horizontal stabilizer in the elevator, which is right here. And looks like they're saying, let me look at it. Okay, the short tube goes in front. These are made to where they can be removed, which is pretty smart. So you take that piece and you spin it and go ahead and put it through the hole. Somewhat center it by eye. Okay, now I take the longer piece and I do the same thing. Somewhat center it by eye. Now you kind of have to hold on the other side because this will push covering loose and everything. I'm going to go ahead and slide my horizontal stabilizer on and of course my elevator. I'm going to start that side on and then I'm going to go ahead and start this other side on, sliding up on my tubes. I have a friend that put together this exact model and he said his didn't match that good. So we'll see how this one works.
Well, Adam Levine spent some time with Blake in Oklahoma, where Blake introduced the rock star to the world of back
Go ahead
roads
and
and
carefully push it
four-wheelers,
up.
and later contrasted that with another experience he had.
Looks
Adam
pretty
says, "I was
good.
on my way to this
Let me go ahead and flip it over so I can see
afterwards,
how my bolt holes line up.
I had so much
Those look
more
pretty good
fun
too.
playing beer
Okay.
pong and driving
Let me look at the
four-wheelers
book
with
here
Blake
and see what
than I
bolts
did
they
at
want
just
you to bolt
5
those
stars
on
away.
with.
Well,
440 by ½ inch.
No doubt. When Blake isn't providing world-class recreational experiences, he's singing songs like the one right here at number 7. There's Blake doing what she likes.
She likes it when I come in sick to work. Spend the whole
Okay, they're saying to use 440 by ½ inch screws with flat washers, and they're saying to use Loctite on it. So, let me find those.
mix up a picture of margaritas. Get you kind of buzzed, that's all night. Doing what she likes. She likes hearing how good she looks.
Get a hold of them here.
Sweeter than sweet tea. Things are whispered in her ear.
140 is the smaller size. The more you do this, the more you'll get an eye for different sizes of hardware. I believe that's a full 40 right there. I need one more, and then I need 2 small flat washers.
Doing what she likes.
Actually, not seeing it.
She likes it when we get past second gear. See
There it is.
the flying in the rear view.
Okay.
Sometimes I'm
Now I gotta find 2 tiny little flat washers, and there's one of them.
She likes it when I find the road to start. Come on somewhere and
Now
park.
this little dish has a curved bottom, which is very handy getting your small hardware out. That way you can push it against that curved bottom and get it out. Okay, I've got 2 small flat washers. Let me make sure they're the right size. They aren't. They are a size smaller, so I gotta find a size bigger on the flat washers. Okay, there they are.
I like doing what she likes. She likes it when I sing her old silly songs and throw in words where they don't.
Okay, that appears to be the right size on my flat washers. Let me check them.
Doing what she likes.
It is.
Doing what she likes. She likes hearing how good she looks in them blue jeans. Little kisses, sweeter than sweet tea. Things are whispered in her ear.
Okay. Now I need to find out what size that is. So I go over here to my Allen wrenches and see what size it is. I'm not sure if it's metric or standard. So I'm going to see here. Okay, it must be standard.
Sounds like he's got that list down pat.
Yeah, I've got my other batch of Allen wrenches there in my box from taking it to the field a few days ago. So I've got this little handy deal. See if I've got the size on it. It appears to be standard, and it is. It's a standard size.
Here's one
I'm
that
gonna
they
do it with
pushed
this
to the
little
summit
tool.
on this week back in 2011.
Actually, that's not going to work that good for that. I'm going to have to get my other set of Allen wrenches out. So let me go ahead and find those. And my Loctite. I pack everything up just about when I go to the field as far as my tools and my supplies. So if I do have a problem, I can go ahead and fix it. And the only problem with doing that is when you get the next day after going to the field, when you need a tool, it's usually in a box tucked away somewhere. But no problem, it just takes a second to get. Back it off a little bit. Okay. Figure out what size it is again. I believe it's this one right here. That is it. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and find my Loctite. Now, on things like this, when you Loctite them, this goes into a little backer nut. You really don't need to put much Loctite on them. I mean, Loctite in a real small amount will still do pretty well what it's designed to do. To make sure you're always just using blue, don't ever use red. But being that this has little blind nuts there, you have to be real careful. If you get these, if you get too much thread locker on these, it could be a real problem. So I just use a very small amount on these. Very small amount. And it works. And I go ahead and try to get that one threaded in if I can hold on to it. Now here's where your ball end Allen wrenches really help because you're going in at an angle. You get right into it. This hole lined up perfectly. Now I'm going to go ahead and tighten it up. Now these don't need to be very tight. They really don't. Just medium tight is what I would say. They don't have to be very tight. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and flip it over and try to get the other one. Looks to line up pretty well also.
With his number one
Put a
hit
small
on this
amount
week,
Loctite on it.
2011, Blake Shelton asking an important question. Who are you? Well, I'm not looking. Coming up, we'll take a look at Frankie Ballard, the beginning.
Sometimes these holes are at an angle and they don't work good. These don't look that bad, we'll see. The other one was perfect. This one looks like it's angled there.
Modern porcelain tiles for
It
just
is.
$1.99 per
Let me
square
see,
foot.
I should be able to push it back just a little bit. I'm pushing on the head of the
Easily
little
add color
bolt,
and texture.
and I'm pushing it back.
12 by 24
Push that
porcelain tiles. Perfect time to save on a
Stabilizer
sophisticated
back
build.
to where
Let's do
the
this.
hole will line up and it
Modern
works
porcelain
just
tiles,
fine.
Just $1.99 per square foot.
I'm going to go ahead and tighten this one up.
That's the power of the Home Depot. US only. See store for details.
Hey, are you all set for your fishing trip? Did you pack the beer? Wait, is that some Twisted Tea I see in the back of the car?
Come on, Twisted Tea.
Yeah, I can see why. Twisted Tea, realized tea taste with a kick.
I don't know. One of the guys must have snuck it in there.
Oh, come on. I bet you're craving the realized tea taste with Twisted
Okay,
Tea.
tighten it up medium. Doesn't need to be that tight.
So
There you go.
Pretty smooth.
But if you want me to
Now
take
we'll
it out,
see.
We might have one or several.
Twisted Tea.
There's my
Realized
horizontal
tea taste.
stabilizer and my elevators.
Responsibly.
We'll see what's next here in just a second, and I'll be back. Okay, next up is to install a servo for the aft rudder mount. Servo, you can do one inside the fuselage or you can do one back here. I would much rather have one back here. It'll be a short control linkage, it'll be much better. So I'm going to put one right here. They say the left side of the fuselage. So I'm going to go ahead and trim this out. Now when I trim these servo holes out, I cut them smaller. I don't cut them all the way out at first. I cut a piece inside, leaving a little bit of the covering to hang over. I'll show you in a minute why I do that. See, I left that little piece there. I'm going to go ahead and slot my corners. Okay. Now the reason I do that is I take a heat iron trim tool after I do that and I go ahead and I iron that down in that servo hole. And it's a little more trouble, but it really helps. If you don't do this in time, if you just cut that even with that edge, in time the wind and stuff will blow that edge up and it'll start peeling around your servo. And I hate that.
Well, like so many before him.
So, if you do it this way, every time you cut a hole for a servo,
was the place he needed to
and I've got this little trim iron, which gets into tight places.
Hometown of Battle Creek, Michigan. He said, I knew that
you won't have your covering peel up on you around your servos. It really helps.
And start from scratch.
So I'll give that a second
like
to
that
heat
idea
up.
at all. So I started commuting Monday through Friday, once a month.
And I'll be right back.
As many people as I could. Do some networking.
Second you get there.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I got my little trim iron heated up. It takes a while to heat up. I'm gonna work on my servo hole where I didn't cut my covering out. I just cut it partially out, and I left about almost a 1/4 inch edge. But anyways, what you do with your iron heated up, the monocoat takes a lot of heat. You very carefully go around the edge. You make sure that edge is stuck down.
People helping warriors like T.
And so you just go right around where that servo hole is, and you stick your edge down nice. Now, what you do is you just carefully start folding in
So I figured they must
your
be
piece.
good people.
One out of every
Start
5
folding
warriors
it inward.
returned from the battlefield with post-traumatic
Going
stress
from the
disorder.
outside in, we'll lay it over and make it not bunch up on you. Okay? So I'm just going from the outside in, and I'm laying it over.
For all our media, we've been using this since June, and our sales
Okay.
have climbed.
And of course, I'm trying to glue that edge
And so I'd
down.
like to recommend any of the other businesses in town
Trying to
use
glue
that.
it down both
And also
out
I'd like
the
to
top
say
side
thank you
here
Nutrition Channel.
and on the inside edge.
To each business. It's fast. It's
Now, the
easy,
only problem
and
with
it
this
gets
is
results.
sometimes you have to
Visitors and locals
clean these holes out for your servos to go in real good. Now, if you have to do that, you're going to have to take one side down. There's really no way around that.
Just look at weather brought to you
I
by
do this on all my servos, and I don't have to cut them out very often.
12 noon to 1 p.m. every
Anyway, so I'm pushing that over. I'm pushing it from the inside,
right here on the
from
Ozarks
the outside
Country,
in,
1029 The Z.
to lay my edge over.
Forecast for today. We're
Go
looking
along
at
my
the
outside
weather
edge to
until
make
6
sure it
a.m.
lays
tomorrow
down.
morning. This evening we're going to see a breezy, sleet, snow.
Takes
all
quite
sorts
a bit
of
of
things
heat.
happening overnight tonight. 3
Push
inches
this-
total
put this
accumulation,
covering
maybe up to
down.
around 4 inches. They
It
say.
doesn't take much
Winds
pressure,
coming
but
in
it does
tonight.
take
It's
quite a
gonna
bit
be
of
around
heat.
7 degrees tonight. We're going to see winds blowing 15 to 20 with gusts
So
up to
you'll
30
see it
miles
starting
per
to
hour
stick.
after midnight.
It's starting to lay down.
Precipitation near 100%. Wind chill readings overnight tonight, 11 below to 16 below. On Monday,
There
we're
we
looking at
go.
mostly sunny, colder. A slight chance of light snow in the morning, then highs are only going to reach the mid-20s tomorrow. North winds 10 to 15 miles
Well, this
per
makes
hour.
a lot
gusty winds
neater
up around
installation
25 miles per hour. Chance of precipitation
Of
at
your
20%.
servo, and it
Night, partly
keeps your
cloudy,
covering
winds are
from
gonna be
coming up around your servo in the
11 degrees.
future.
Taking a look at the 1029 The Z color weather.
Now, like
radar.
I said,
Right now,
sometimes
we
you
get
have
very
to trim
heavy
your hole
precipitation
out a
beginning
little
to
bit
move
for your
into
servos
Newton
being a little
County,
larger.
Boone County, Carroll County,
If I do
Madison
have to
County,
do that,
back into Searcy and Marion counties. in
I'll
northwest
cut it off of
Arkansas.
one side.
In southwest Missouri, there's another pretty heavy band right in the southern part of Berry County.
And I would
beginning to
usually
dissipate just
cut
a
it
little
off the
bit as
front
it moves
side
north
here because the
northeast.
wind will
And then
mostly
you're
be
gonna
blowing
see that part
back.
of the listening area, Berry,
Try to
Stone,
pull
and
your
Stan's
covering
gonna see a
loose.
little break for just a little bit, and then yep, another wave coming in right in behind it. Now, folks, outside the studios at 1029 The Z, it is very heavy sleet falling right now with a little light snow mixed into it.
We're actually getting
Everybody.
thunder sleet right now.
Extremely treacherous.
I
And,
don't know if you
know,
can
now
hear
it's
that
beginning to get
thunder,
dark.
but it's sleeting like crazy. It's already sleeted probably a couple inches of sleet. And now we're getting thunder sleet. So
Stress to you how important that is, because wind chill readings are going to be very dangerous overnight tonight.
having some pretty
If you don't
wild
check it out, just stay there. And of course, you
weather
can
in
follow along with
Arkansas
all
for
these
this time of
cancellations and
year.
postponements. We'll have that full listing of cancellations, postponements coming up in just a bit. If you want to check it out,
Which is actually, I guess,
1029thez.com
March 2nd.
right now. That's our website.
Okay, so I've got that iron down with my little trim iron. Now I'm going to set it to the side and let it
So
cool.
once again, right now,
Make
we're
sure I
seeing
unplug
heavy
it.
sleet throughout the listening area. The heaviest part of the sleet right now following in Newton County and beginning to move into
Make sure
southern
and set
Boone
it out of the
County.
way where it
Also,
can't
the
get
western
against
side
anything.
Because
it will melt things.
As the night makes
Okay.
progression right here on the Ozarks Best Country.
Now, I'm going to go ahead and get a servo out and
Don't miss the Midday Cafe.
put it together and see if I can set it in there. It's saying it will take a 16-inch servo extension, and of course I'll make my own extensions. This particular one won't take a long arm. It doesn't appear to. No. Doesn't take a long arm at all, so I won't have to worry about putting the longer
Last week's number
arms
one,
on it.
this week's number
I'm using
4.
these Tactics TS X35s. 73 ounces of torque at 6 volts, 68 at 4.8, which is really a pretty good little servo, from what I understand. We'll see how they work. That's a perfect size servo for this type of plane, this size. This plane calls for a 46 to a 61, and I'm going to try to get by with a 91. I really like my planes overpowered. I'm just braver with a plane with a lot of power. If I get close to the ground and have a little bit of a problem, I can just kick back on the throttle and it's no problem. Now, several of my buddies really like the 4-strokes, and I love the sounds of them. They sound incredible. But the 4-strokes, actually, the power comes on a little slower. So I really like the idea of a 2-stroke, being able to just snap the throttle and get almost instant reaction to get you out of trouble. I really like that. I'm looking for my little black pair of hemostats. Had them out several times earlier. Yeah, evidently put them back up. Oh, I know what I did. I put them in my deal with my wiring stuff. Yeah. See, I've got a pair of hemostats that I keep in my wiring box, which I'll need this out in a minute anyway, because I got to make my extension lead. But, I put this other set in there also. I keep a set in there. And so I put 2 sets in there. But I've showed you before how I do these little grommets. I hold them with a hemostat. See, something like that. Hardware there on the floor. Anyway, I hold in. I stick it to the little eyelet partially, and then I grab the other end of it, and I go ahead and very carefully poke it through. Way easier than doing it with your thumbnail or whatever. A lot easier. So, I'm going to go ahead and put my grommets and my bushings in my servo. And I've showed you this earlier on this video. Well, on this particular build anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then when I get ready to mount my servo, I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. I got my servo put together. My little grommets, and remember that the little bushings, the little brass bushings, the knurled end goes on the bottom to keep it from going through the wood. Now I'm just going to go ahead and set my servo in there to see how well it fits. See if it fits my opening. It does. It's a little tight. It's okay to be a little tight. Just move it around. They'll usually go. Don't force it. You'll break something. That one's really actually pretty tight. You can just wiggle them around. Usually it's soft plywood. They'll go ahead and go after a minute. That one's really holding. There it goes. Okay, I just worked it around until it slid down in there and it was a little tight. It's not bad. Okay, now I'm going to get my 1/16 drill bit. And I'm going to drill one hole, making sure my servo is pretty centered and level with my hole. I'm going to drill one hole.
Boy, he can handle those up-tempos, but he can nail a ballad, huh? His very first #1 from back in 2009, Luke Bryan and
And as I've done on my other servos, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put one screw in it. These are pretty cheap hardware, so you got to be real careful not to strip them. Make sure your bit fits it. Okay, I'm going to drill a hole on the other side. And don't really put hardly any pressure on your drill. I've done it before. I put a lot of pressure on it, and what it'll do, it'll just push right through that wood. But it's actually not drilling it, it's just pushing a hole through it, which makes a real rough hole on the other side. So let your drill bit do its job. Don't put hardly any pressure on it. This is pretty soft plywood. Make sure it's in the center of your hole. Now I'm going to go ahead and drill, of course, the other two. Hardly any pressure at all. Alright, now I'm going to put my other two screws in. Now I don't have to run them all the way up. Just run them 90% in, and then I'm going to take them right back out. And don't ever forget this step. It's very important to wick the CA in your holes on your screws. There's no comparison in the strength that you would have. You might think that, you know, those screws screw in there pretty tight, they'll be fine. That's a step that I can skip. That's not so. There's no comparison in the strength you will have with wicking CA down in your holes, as opposed to not doing it. So don't ever try to skip that step. Now I gotta get this servo back out, and as before it was very tight. So I gotta tip it and wiggle it back and forth. Again, it's real easy to break something at this point, so take your time.
Number 4 last week, up 1 to 3.
A little bit of patience here.
And compass. Well,
Just
I'm not
pull on
exactly
it,
sure
wiggle it
which
back and
direction
forth.
is up on a compass, but that
Sooner or
is
later, it will come back
the
up
direction
through
that
that
we are
hole.
headed, and we're about to find
There it
out
comes.
who has that
Okay,
new
it's very
number
tight,
one
with a
hit.
little patience, no problem. Now, I'm going to go ahead and take...
Strange Savings Stories. Ken Marcus was making a pastrami sandwich when he noticed
I'm going to go ahead and put a drop in each hole.
one that spelled out Geico.
I
Ken found
might
himself
even put a
visiting
drop, 2 drops in
Geico.com,
each
saving
hole.
hundreds of dollars on car insurance with
See
great
here.
discounts. Later, Ken
You're gonna
felt
start by putting
conflicted
1
whether or
drop
not
in
he
each
should cut the
hole.
slice of bread that saved him so much money. But he was so hungry.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Restore your vehicle's lost power by
You can kinda tell how much it soaks up.
Chevron Techron Fuel System Cleaner.
If you go at it
Right now,
slow.
buy 1 bottle, get 1 free at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Keep your engine clean and improve performance with Chevron Techron Fuel System Cleaner. Buy 1, get 1 free at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Limit supply. See store for details.
It's real important to get a fair amount down in each hole.
Auto Parts. KHBC-FM Harrison Branson from the Clean
Looks like a
94
couple drops
Studios.
is plenty.
You're tuned in to
I
102.9
might have done a little bit more than that on some of them. Basically a drop in each hole.
And we have moved up to the second biggest tube.
Now that needs to cure out for a little while.
It belongs to Jason.
And I'll need to make my servo extension, a 16-inch extension. I'll actually make it 17-inch because I always make my hair longer. But let me see here if I can find here where this control rod's supposed to come through. You got a place here where the control rods for the elevator come through, and they give you these big old long ones. They really, you know, my cord's out of my way. Servos earlier. Okay, let me get some of my cords out of the way.
Some nights I come home at night, feel like running my fist through the wall. Is it even worth what I'm fighting for anymore? Feeling torn so it all. When she says, baby,
You know, you're here chilling it, you just think you got
Here, I've got these long push rods that they give you.
You know, and that's what we went in and tried to do.
For your control rods, for your elevators. And I'm gonna
it's just been super
push
cool
it through these little
there
tubes.
for me when I needed to talk
The
about
fuselage.
things from the get-go. And now we have a song that's at the top of the charts together. It's,
Figure out which
it's so
ones are
cool, but
which,
it was one of those songs to where the title and the melody and lyrics all just flowed well, and we finished it in a couple hours, man. It's hard to believe that I don't know that either one of us
It's like the
had the
outside
slightest
ones,
clue it would be that big.
Big. No question about it. How about the biggest song in the land? With our brand new
Anyway, they're long
#1.
enough that you can thread them in there.
I got my shades on
I'm not thread them, just push them in there. I'll see which ones they are. And I just want to very carefully push it up and see which one it is. Okay, that's the right one. Okay, now see, I can see the little bump of where that one's at. Now watch this. See if I got my lighter on me. Now, I've done this before and it works really good. I'm going to go ahead and heat this into this other wire up, and I'm going to heat it up really good. I'm going to really get it hot. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and wipe my black off because I don't want that all over my covering. Okay, then I'm going to take where my little bump sticks up, and I'm going to set it right there. Okay, that's really hot. I'm going to go ahead and push against that other one. Put a little pressure on it. And there it is. It's actually not perfect, but it's actually a little better than if you'd have tried to cut it. It's not perfect, but it is a little better than if I tried to cut that. Okay, there's that one. Okay, now I'm going to stick the other one in there. And try to do about the same thing on the other side. Now this one should come right here. Right there is the spot. There it is. Now this time I will take a razor knife and I'll heat it up. And I'll use the back side of it. I'm not trying to really cut it. I'm just trying to puncture it, make a little hole so that it comes through. So I push my rod up against it. I very carefully work a small hole in that covering. You kind of have to thread that up through because it'll push to the back. You gotta work at getting that to come through that small hole. There it comes. Okay. Now again, much neater than just trimming out around it. Much neater. Okay, there's my control rods for my
Georgia, climbing up to
elevator.
the very first single. And
now I'm going to go ahead and make my extensions. I need one 16-inch extension for my servo, for my rudder. And I've already showed you how to make extensions, so I'm not going to go over that again. I'll be right back when I get that done. Okay, here I am making my extension for my rudder servo. They say 16 inches. I'm not going to bore you with the making an extension again, but I am going to tell you that I always cut them at least 1 inch longer than the book says. It gives you a little safety. I'm going to put one end on here, and then I'll go ahead and shut the camera off and do the rest of it. You skin your wire back about 1/8 of an inch. You make sure that you lay your wire in a position that it's going to go on your plug, which is your black is always on your right side. So I turn that up. I slide my first set of ears over my covering, and then my wire itself goes up into the second set of ears. I crimp my first set of ears down with a pair of hemostats, with a little bit of a hole on the covering. And then I grab my crimpers, and I go to my first set of ears, and I just start them down. I don't really put much pressure on them. I just start them rolling over. Okay, and then I go to my second set of ears, and I go ahead and I just crimp them a little. Okay, and then I go back over it a few times to go ahead and tighten it up. Okay? And then I very closely, and I use reading glasses, I look very close at that and make sure that the first set of ears is on my covering and the second set of ears is right there on my wire. Now the female pins have a little third set of ears, and you got to be careful not to bend them over. A very small set. Now the male pins don't have that. So you've just got 2 sets of ears. Go ahead and tug on them, look at them real close, make sure they're crimped down nice. And I'm going to be doing that 3 times with the male pins, and then I'll do it 3 times with the female pins, and put the ends on, and I'll have my 17-inch extension, which is 1 inch longer than the book says. So as soon as I get that done, I'll be right back.
Monday morning, also wind chill.
Okay, I got my
tonight until 10 a.m. Central
17-inch
as well. Overnight,
servo extension made. I went ahead and plugged it onto my servo that I'm going to use, and I'm going to slide a little over 1 inch piece of this heat shrink up on it. And I went over this several times, but I'm going to go over it several times more because it's something you really need to pay attention to. Make sure your polarity is right on your plug. Make sure your plug is plugged all the way up. And see, you're trying to get it to come over these ears. Look at this. See how this plug comes unplugged?
So once again, pets, animals
Okay,
that you
so
have
you're
outside,
actually trying to get it to
might
go
look at
over
bring them in the
these
garage, put them in
ears
the basement,
right
in the
here
barn somewhere there might be
to
some
hold
more.
that in. So make
that they have a
sure
good place to go and make sure
that
they have
you
lots
get
of
it.
water.
And this
Water
other
freezes up
part
very
pops in.
cold
You don't
when
really
it's
have to
like this.
hold it.
Sunny
This part
tomorrow,
right here is
slight
what
chance
you're
of
trying to
lifestyle
hold.
morning highs are
So
gonna be
make
in the
sure
upper
you go a little
20s.
bit past
Once again, We're
that.
going to see wind chill readings -2 to
And center
-7
it.
throughout the day tomorrow, and then partly cloudy lows.
And then of course
down
I'm using
around
my stamp,
11
my little stamp heat
tomorrow
gun,
night. Taking a look at the
and
102.9
heat it up,
color weather radar.
shrink it up on there real
Still
nice.
seeing a widespread amount of precipitation all throughout the listening area. Right now, the heaviest part of the precipitation in Madison,
Take your time, don't get it too hot.
Marion, and Searcy counties in northwest Arkansas.
You can actually melt
east corner of Taney County,
stuff
Missouri,
if you
still
don't
pretty heavy there.
watch
Now,
what
we're
you're
beginning to see
doing.
a break in the action for our listeners from Berry and Stone County, also Ozark Christian County. They're seeing a little
And I
break
just
right
keep
now.
shrinking it
And
until I
also
see it
getting
close in
into
on
the
these little
western
ears.
side of Carroll County, a little break getting ready to come through there. But once again, taking back, going to jump out to the larger radar and see what we've got coming.
Okay, there it
There's
is.
more. Right
Okay, now
there's
see
gonna
how
be
it started
another line
shrinking on
coming in right behind
the
this,
two
folks. So
ends
we're
of
gonna
that
see more
plug.
precipitation moving
So
through
that's
the
what'll hold
Ozarks
it in.
tonight. Once
Now
again,
that'll
big
never
wind
come
chills,
loose.
Precipitation coming down pretty
Go
heavy.
ahead and set
Sounds
my
like a
little-
good night to stay at home, watch a movie with
a
the
little
family.
heat gun.
So just stay tuned right here to the
Here
Ozarks.
to the side, let it cool down.
102.9 The Z.
Okay, now
Treacherous driving conditions will continue.
I need
across
to
the
thread
area
this through
tonight.
the
We'll see
fuselage
freezing rain this afternoon.
before
maybe
I mount
a
my
thunder.
servo.
That changes over to snow.
So what I do
Tomorrow,
is I just set my fuselage up on its
there could be
end,
some ice buildup on trees
and let gravity help me.
Through the teens this
Now let me
afternoon.
see, which
Once
way am I
temperatures
going to
too.
want? I'm going to go ahead and pull those
Tomorrow,
rods
sunshine
through so
still
they
below
won't
freezing, high
slide.
29.
Yeah, that
and
one
sunny
doesn't
42
matter.
on Tuesday.
Let me see which way I want my servo to turn.
Meteorologist Bill Danker on the Ozarks
Okay.
Best Country 102.9 The Z.
Your 1029 The Z radar.
My spine will be turned to the back of the airplane.
Don't miss the Midday Cafe 12.
So I'm going to go ahead and just lay my wire down in here
Fresh and tasty country music for
and
you
hope
on
that
your
gravity
radio
will help
station.
thread it down.
West Country 1029 The Z.
Weather twice an hour and the Ozarks' best choice.
Kind of move it around.
Coverage.
You
The Z.
tilt the fuselage over whichever way you want. Jiggle it around. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and look here and see if it's coming through. And it is. It's right here. Okay. So now I'm going to go ahead and set my servo in place. I've got that where I want it. I'm going to go ahead and set my servo in place. And I'm going to go ahead and screw it down. Earlier I drilled my holes. I wicked a little CA down in them. They're ready to go. So I go ahead and permanently mount the servo. And again, this servo goes in really tight. So I have to get it started and just wiggle it gently until it goes past that edge. You can really break some wood and stuff doing this. I have before. Trying to rush something. If you'll just wiggle it, put a little pressure on it, take your time, it'll go here in a minute. It did earlier. That one's really tight. I actually would have cut that one out a little bit, but I already ironed the covering down. There it goes. Now I'm going to go ahead and put my servo screws in. Now these holes, now that I put CA in them, they'll be a little harder to thread into, so it'd be much easier to strip my heads on my screws, so I got to be extra careful now. So I'm just going to start them a little bit. And then after I get them started, I'll hold my hand on the back side and I'll really hold against it where I can put some pressure on them. Be real careful when doing this. This is a real bad time to damage something when you really got some pressure on it. Hopefully you can see it. Anyway, I'm just going to run them down where they squish that little piece of rubber out a little bit. No need to be any tighter than that. There it is. I'm going to go ahead and wiggle it around, make sure it's holding on real good. Look very closely to see how tight they are. Looks real good. Okay, there's that. Now we'll actually probably start working on the control horns on the elevator. I'm going to go ahead and take a break and we'll be back later.